All right, Dr. Torbody, let's take a look at my 6 activities that are going to show up here. So my first activity is going to be definitely including the growth mindset and the dot, and about fixed mindset, growth mindset, and praising the process and not the outcome. To me, providing that to my students as a safe environment for them to be successful is essential. So, the growth mindset on one of those first days is important. The other one is this tower activity, and I'll do my best to kind of explain it. Is you provided this multiple intelligence, kind of graphic organizer, and so I'm going to give my students a newspaper. I might have to explain what that is, a roll of masking tape, and 10 popsicle sticks. And then what I'm going to say to them is, you get a group of 3 or 4. You want to construct the tallest tower that you possibly can. And I'm going to give you 3 minutes by yourself to independently brainstorm some ideas. And say, okay, now I'm going to give you 5 minutes to brainstorm together as a group what you want to build, to have a plan, what it is that you want to do, what it is that you see, what's your vision. And then there's a catch. Obviously, the big catch is when I start the time, I normally give kids about 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes to try to build the tallest structure that they can. The catch is they can't talk. Absolutely no communication verbally. They can use their hands. They can kind of draw. They can communicate as much as they can. Once the time's up, I have a measure. I have them give me a quick synopsis, a breakdown of things, and then I think this is a great segue, especially at the beginning of the year, to talk about multiple intelligences with kids. Were you a great visual? Did you see things in your head? Were you able to draw and sketch out exactly what you want to do? And I think this is going to be one of my things where everybody has value and everybody has a level of intelligence. And so this is me kind of bringing in the activity of multiple intelligences, and what was your cue, and trying to take away the verbal piece of it, to be able to talk about, were you great verbally at the beginning? So this is my tower activity. Activity number 3 is a constructivist activity. And I'm having an issue with my iPad today, so I'm going to share it this way. So that was my summer school. So this is me kind of working vicariously through everything. So what I wanted to do is I want to give kids a group of graphs, and I'm really not concerned with how many, but here's what happens. I'm going to have them graph something. So y equals 1/2 x minus 1, 2, right? I'm just giving a quick sketch, right? And then what I'm going to have kids do is answer this question for each one. Hey, what's the slope of that? What's the y-intercept? Oh, I'm not going to have it that way. I shouldn't say it that way. So here's what's going to happen. They're going to have to tell me the slope and the y-intercept. I'm probably going to have it like this, y-intercept, and then the x-intercept. And so there's my y, -1, and this is 2. And by the time my hope is, the goal is for them to recognize this is my slope, this is my y-intercept. So kind of really going back into my constructivist, I'm trying this out. I thought this was a good idea for kids to discover for themselves slope-intercept form. So the objective is, when they're done, can they come to me and say, hey, if you gave me an equation of y equals 2x plus 5, I should start at 5 on the y-axis, go up 2, right 1. So that was my other activity. So I keep going the wrong way. I'm sorry. So my next one is a red pen review, and I'm the only person I've ever seen do this. And if I didn't have the iPad, I don't know if I could explain it. So when kids come in, sometimes I have a warm-up activity, and I give them a red pen or any color. It doesn't have to be red, but I will assign, let's say in this particular case, 5 questions for homework. Okay. And I'll say to the kids when they come in, hey, was there a question you really struggled with? And they go, oh man, I really had a problem with 5. So in my head as a teacher, I know to select 5. And then they might not say anything to me. And they say, okay, well, I'm going to select 2 and number 1 in this case. So here's how the red pen works. To get full credit, to get a 5 out of 5, you have to do all the work and you have to correct it. So you could get every question wrong and still get 100%. You just have to correct the errors, right? So let me show you what I mean. So in this particular question, right, I should have added 3 to both sides, and I got this guy right. So I'd say, okay, yay, good for me, right? And in this case, I'd say, okay, did I subtract 5 from both sides? Okay, yay, I got this guy right. So let's say this was, I'm going to make this one up. Let's say this was a +4 here, and the kid got 12. As long as the student corrects themselves, right? And a lot of times they go like this, and they'll put x equals 4. As long as they correct their work, that's 100%. So they have to do the work, and then they have to correct it. So here's what I learned that growing up as a kid, when I would do homework and I would write things down, I would hand it into the teacher. She would grade and give it back. Most kids just took it, put it in their backpack, or threw it in the garbage can on the way out the door. There was no, what did I learn? What did I say? Oh, okay, I got that wrong. There was no interaction and engagement with the mind, recognizing, hey, I did this wrong. So normally what happens for a lot of my students is the error that they make, and I'm sure you know this, is the error that they make the whole way through, right? And so if they correct themselves, they start to realize which mistake was what. So this is my homework policy. So it's a really good way to avoid the hijacked amygdala. It's a really great way to look at it and go, you know, I can be wrong. Wolfie's not going to be mad if mine are wrong. I just need to make my best effort, and then we'll correct it together. It's a very safe way to get kids to practice. So this is my red pen review. So red pen review is activity number 4. Geometry talk. I know I'm not going to say anything here to you that you are not going to already know. And that is, when you teach geometry with kids, it's a different hemisphere of the brain. So what happens is I have this talk every year. I have it with parents, back to school night, is the kid they can take geometry in our district in 8th grade or 7th grade, and they can take it all the way up to 11th grade. So you never know what age you're going to get. And so this is where I talk about the brain deliberately in the hemisphere. I really like the Harvard professor. It was Bolt something, because I will have the valedictorian till, in algebra, all the way through algebra. And then they take geometry, and there's a real struggle. And so I have this talk about kids is sometimes, why. So my question to kids is, why is it that your driver's license, you have to wait till you're 16? And that's because of spatial relationships, developing in your brain. And so there's a lot of putting everybody at ease in that amygdala, parents especially, because if they're used to seeing their kid get an A, in abstract algebra, and now they have this geometry and it's spatial and visual and all these things are going on, it's definitely a struggle. This is a conversation I have left brain, right brain all the time. In geometry, you know it as well as I do. It's a different hemisphere, different, and depending on the age that they're in this class, it could be really, really, really difficult. Activity number 6 is something that I do not want to miss out with sharing with my students. It's that state of mind with the director and 3 actors. And I do want to share this with my students. And that is, oops, I don't know why he's not showing up. Okay, well, we're going to make him bigger. So for me, what I did was I kind of recreated the notes that I had from you in that aspect. So I made a stage of the mind, and I want to give them notes about the director, green light, logic, reasoning, all these other things. Oops. I'm not sure why it's not letting me do this. So green light, logic, reasoning, pursuing worthy goals, self-control, right? He's the natural leader. Then you've got the list keeper, and I'll kind of scroll in here. He's the motivates. He's all possible options, right? And basically what I'm doing is giving the kids an opportunity to see this. I'm not really sure why this is giving me grief. I'm sorry. So there's the list keeper, the planner, right? He operates on different things. And then I want to talk about the responder, right? Red light, engaging the amygdala, and I have all these things that allow me to zoom. So to me, I find this really valuable because I deal with a lot of low-level students. And so I think having the conversation about the state of the mind or the stage of the mind with the director and 3 actors. I'm hoping that if we start to use that vernacular, we will be able to say to them, you know, what are you engaging? Are you hijacked here? Which is your director engaged? And that's really kind of the hope for me, to be able to share that with my students, for the most part. So thanks.